Hi, everyone, and welcome back to a new episode of the Rectified Podcast. Today, my guest is Joseph Karam. He is one of the co founders of Bello. Welcome, Joseph.
Thank you, Sandy, for having me.
Joseph, you are working with a company called Bello, a product that is quite unique in the market. Tell me a little bit more about what it is.
Bello is essentially a kitchen countertop water dispenser that turns tap water into functional flavored water by filtering it and infusing it with natural concentrates that are packed in multi-serving glass capsules. The idea behind Bello Water was to help people drink more water, which a lot of people struggle with,
Yeah.
by just making the experience more enjoyable, more convenient, healthier. You know, we kind of struggled with drinking water. Working, studying,
Yeah.
exercising and stuff like that, and we realized that it was much easier during the day to get up and go make yourself a coffee because you had an experience like an espresso
Yeah.
or a Keurig where, as we call it, kind of the alternative to single use. But we didn't have a product like that around hydration, which is a core part of our
Yeah.
health. And, we wanted to kind of replicate that experience, and no longer choose between like tap water or just like basic filtered water from Brita or,
Yeah.
single use plastic. And so that's really where the idea of Bello came to be.
Yeah, and it might be even easier to drink something with flavor than just water.
Yeah, for sure. Like I think a lot of people, they're not really enticed to get up and just go make a glass of flat water. I think, the people who are consciously going to do that are people who are a bit more like
Yeah.
ambitious around their health and stuff. And so we figured if you can make it something or like, a moment for people to look forward to where you can go, get up as a break during your day and then actually
Yeah.
enjoy doing it, then people will do it more.
That's so true. Let's go back to how it all started. So basically, your father is one of the dragons on the French version of Dragon's Den here in Quebec. And there's the people who created this product came and pitched it. He loved the idea. He saw a potential. He invested in it. And then you jumped in also in the company. So tell me a little bit more about what happened there. Before we dive in, a quick ask. If you're watching or listening, hit subscribe or follow on whatever platform you're tuning in from. And don't forget to leave a review. It helps more founders like you find the show, and it helps us keep bringing these conversations to life.
Basically, at the time of when the two founders pitched on Rectified, I was working separately from my father. I was actually in a completely different industry. I was
Yeah.
managing real estate portfolios. I had my own business on the side, and it
Yeah.
was something where, I always had that entrepreneurial spirit from when I was young, that I obviously inherited from my dad. But, I got to a certain point where I wasn't enjoying real estate as much. And at that point, my father had kind of seen the work that I was putting in and asked me to join the family office and to start helping him really build it out as an investment arm and to start, investing in startups, a lot of them that were coming through the show.
Yeah.
And really in the same conversation where he asked me to join the family office, he also told me about, the two co-founders from France who had come and pitched the idea for Bello Water.
Yeah.
When they pitched during the show, it was still a 3D printed prototype. It was a machine that wasn't working on the show.
Okay.
All the other dragons thought, it's way too early. Like you don't even have your molds yet, which is usually at least like the starting point
Yeah.
for investors to
Yeah.
come in. But my father saw the potential behind the idea, and maybe some people know or don't know, but when you make an investment on the show, it's not binding. So he figured like,
Oh, I didn't know that.
yeah.
Okay.
So he made the investment on the show. We met with them a few days later, and myself just like as a consumer too, and
Yeah.
someone who likes brands and products, I kind of fell in love with the idea right off the bat. And while I should have been working to manage like all the investments of the family office, I very quickly started working full time with Bello. And basically we spent the next about year and a half, 2 years bringing that 3D printed prototype to what's called the golden sample, which is the final product that's ready to be like manufactured en masse. So that's how I got involved, and I've been involved for about 3 years now. We've been on the market for 12 months, and we're scaling now.
Yeah. I really had no idea that the investment is not binding. So you may say, okay, I give you 100K for whatever percent. And then after the show say, okay, I don't want to go with that. That's interesting.
Well, I mean, it's obviously like there's a lot of due diligence to do before, the entrepreneurs can come and really say whatever they want on the show. And, investments are not made after a 30 to 40 minute pitch, right? You need to look at the financials, you need to look at the IP, everything like that. And, a lot of the time, and maybe I'm revealing something that I'm not supposed to, but a lot of the entrepreneurs come on just for marketing, right? So they don't actually want the money. So they'll come on, ask for an investment, they'll get the marketing exposure, and then after that they'll be like, actually,
As
what?
seen on Dragon's Den.
Exactly.
And then everybody's
It actually converts really well on ads.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Mm-hmm. So interesting. I've had many people who were like not on the Quebec. Yes, I actually had one guest who was on the Quebec, but like 10 years ago, dans l'œil du dragon, but also like in the Canada version of Dragon's Den. And the people I talked to, at least it's obvious because they have a brand that lasted. So the investors were really hands-on. They meet with them weekly or whatever, every once in a while, and they see what's happening. And the deal really went through. Like the investors were really involved. I remember it was a drink. One of them was like a mixer, the ones you put with gin and all of that. And one of them was a cold plunge, the tubs.
Yes.
Culture. Yeah,
okay,
culture.
cool.
We had him on the podcast also. So the things that they told me, like the dragons were really involved in like the growth of their brand, and these are the brands that actually lasted with time instead of having just something temporary and like giving the initial push. So it's been 1 year, 12 months that you're actually selling in the market. Okay.
Yeah, so I mean, since the show, I said I think it was around 2 years to bring it to market. Obviously, something, we're in the hardware space, and hardware is, they always say hardware is hard.
Yeah.
Obviously, there's a lot of R&D to do. There's a lot of fundraising because, just the molds cost a lot of money. The inventory cost a lot of money.
Yeah.
There's long lead times. There's long testing processes and stuff like that. So, there's kind of like the last 12 months have been just the tip of the iceberg that people have seen. But really most of the work so far has really been just to get to market.
Yeah. And did being on Dragons then help you to market the product, to get like the initial push? Because that's the most difficult phase, to get to be known in the market and to have that demand.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, early on, when you don't have massive marketing budgets, anything that you can get from an organic awareness standpoint is super beneficial. And so we've really like leveraged the exposure that we got from l'œil du dragon. We recut some of the clips as ads. You use kind of the also the credibility of having a dragon behind the product. And social proof is a big important factor when it comes to marketing for consumer products. And so it's been a big boost, and obviously like mainly in Quebec.
Yeah, obviously. Did you invest, you said you didn't have a lot of budget, but did you start investing in paid ads from the beginning, or did you play on the organic part a little bit and then you supplemented it with paid?
We started a little bit with just the organic from l'œil du dragon, but we knew that what our main sales engine would really come from paid. And so the approach we've taken, and this is an approach that worked for us, and some people take a different approach, but we use the main engine as paid, primarily through Meta. And then we now use organic as kind of like, on top to add, organic site traffic and stuff like that. But yeah, paid, you really need to get kind of that engine going, understand what your cost of acquisition is so that you understand, how much can we scale on a monthly basis, like
Exactly.
how do our unit economics work and stuff like that.
It's very important to supplement it with organic. It's good that you're doing it. I've seen people who only do paid. I've had someone, I worked with in the past, and they only did paid. They didn't actually listen that please do organic also, etc. And then one day their Meta account was hacked,
Oh my God.
and they couldn't get it back. And like if you do this for years, you train the
Yeah.
account. It's not like having a new account. And they had spent large amounts of money, like they were doing 7 figures in sale, multiple 7 figures, etc.
Wow.
Like it was really going well, and then the account was gone. There's no brand identity, nobody knows them. It's like the company doesn't exist anymore, just to let you know.
Yeah, I mean, that's just like everything. I mean, diversifying your sales channels and stuff is
Yeah.
extremely important, and it's something that we're starting to do more and more. And like you said about, you train that like engine and that algorithm
Yeah.
over time. We sold out of our initial batch of inventory like pretty early on
Yeah.
into our first year working. Like within 6 months, we had no inventory left, and we kind of sat without
That's
inventory or a very little amount for
Yeah.
almost half a year. And we've just received more inventory recently,
Okay.
and we're pretty much starting from scratch again. And, obviously we're taking the learnings that we have in
Yeah.
terms of what are the hooks that convert, what are the
Exactly.
types of ads that work the best. But still, you can't just kind of scale back up to what you were doing on a monthly basis. When you had the inventory, we have to start like,
Yeah.
low and scale up.
Yeah, that's the issue with product brands. It's yes, okay, let's put a lot of money on ads, or let's go viral here and do things there, or get influencer, all of those tactics that people do. And then you may run out of inventory, and then you're losing actually sales because the demand is there.
Yeah.
So you need to balance it out somehow.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, there's a big like challenge to do with like inventory and supply planning and like demand planning as well. And for us, it's a little bit more of a challenge because we have longer lead times.
Yeah.
If a lot of these CPG brands, I mean, you can still get your product in a month, 2 months,
True.
but for us, because it's hardware, because we're shipping it overseas,
Yeah.
it takes 5-6 months before we can receive our product. And on top of it, our cost of goods sold is high compared to just regular CPG products. So, we have to, we can be profitable on paper, but our challenge really is cash flow
Yeah.
at this stage of the game. And so we'll have to go get money so that we can place the order, wait for the order to come, and then start selling. So right now, early on, those are the bottlenecks that we're dealing with, is getting that inventory. Luckily, sales has been something that, the demand has been there, and sales hasn't really been an issue at this scale. But hopefully we can cross that point so that, we never run out of inventory again.
If you're a product-based founder, I'd love to invite you to join the Scale Partner community. It's a free space where founders like you can connect, share ideas, and support each other. Inside, you'll find other people like you who are building brands, workshops to help you grow, and conversations that make the journey feel a little less lonely. Come join us. It's completely free at community.rectified.co/scale partner. We're recording this a few days after Black Friday and Cyber Monday. How did that go this year?
It went really well. I mean, we're super happy with our
Yeah.
results. I'm basing it off of like our key metrics, like our cost of acquisition and stuff like that. Because we only received our new batch of inventory like a week before Black
Wow.
Friday, we
Yeah.
weren't really able to scale up to what could have been. But still at this point, like we're focused on growing efficiently and intelligently.
Slow and steady is always better.
Yeah, especially like in hardware where it's taken so long just to get to market. Once you get to market, you just really want to put your foot on the gas. But like I said before, cash flow is what really can kill you. And so if you're just trying to grow like really quickly, especially, for a product like hardware where one little problem with one of your suppliers in the machine can destroy a whole batch of inventory, it can hurt you. And so when you have that problem on, let's say, a few thousand machines versus a few tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of
True.
machines, then those mistakes become more costly at scale. And so
Yeah.
you want to be able to make those mistakes while the
When you're
stakes are still
smaller.
low.
Yeah,
lower.
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. This is actually a good strategy. Also, you don't want to have like a bad reputation. You know what? If you're selling the machine and it's defective
Yeah.
and there's like 100 or 1,000, whatever, like a large amount that are defective and people are writing bad reviews and like it kills the brand from the
Exactly.
beginning. So it's always better to be careful. But in your situation, you have a challenge because you have the machine, but you also have the pods that you put. It's kind of like an espresso kind of thing. You have the pods and you have a machine. So you have two different types of product that you have to always supply.
Yeah, exactly. And exactly. And so we have to kind of plan like the machines with the capsules and stuff
Yeah.
like that. Like we do production on both. But at least it gives us, in a sense, if we're out of inventory on machines or we need to kind of scale down our sales on the machines, well, at least we can focus on the recurrence of the capsules and stuff like that. So it's not like, even when we were out of machines, at least we were able to
Yeah.
sell filters and capsules.
Yeah. You mentioned working with your father. I did that for a very long time, for like 10, 11 years. It was challenging, especially that when I started to work with him, I was very young. That was a challenging time, especially when you're younger and like they don't believe what you're saying or they
Yeah.
don't trust and all of that. So, how's the dynamic today?
I mean, the dynamic is great with my father. Obviously, it's a challenge, but it's something where we're, obviously, like in our culture, we're
Yeah.
Lebanese and stuff, like family values are extremely important, and kind of passing on whatever it is, whether it's business or just values from generation to generation. It's
True.
something that we really hold to, with a lot of value. It's a challenging in the sense that because he's an investor in the business and
Yeah.
he's like on the board and I'm in the operations running the business, I have to answer to him as,
The boss.
as like a VC or an investor.
Yeah.
And so, there's that kind of pressure of needing to be successful and for it to work out. But then there's an added element where as his son, he wants me to be like successful as
Yeah.
well. So it's not just from the standpoint of the business, it's also the standpoint of like, I want my son to succeed.
Yeah.
And so there's added pressure, but I, as much as it's hard, I'm grateful for the pressure because I know that
Exactly.
it's going to make me a better entrepreneur. Obviously I have someone who is, like a very experienced and well-respected and just successful entrepreneur. And so having someone, every day that I can ask questions to, or that, is coaching me and mentoring me on a day-to-day basis, like as much as it's difficult, at the end of the day, I, just think back to myself, like I'm lucky to have,
Exactly.
to be in this situation. And so like,
It's so true. And when you look back, like now when I look back, I wasn't happy when I was 22 and fighting on a daily basis with my dad and complaining to my mom. But now that I look back, like every single thing I learned from that and I evolved, like just the work ethic. Like, for example, my dad, he used to, I never heard him say, "Oh, I don't feel like working today." I do that sometimes, like, "Oh, today I just want to sleep, I don't want to move." Like you learn these things like work ethics, like every day he wore his tie and he went to work and he dressed up in a good way. He was never like, it's a bit old school, but you learn these things other than the business side. There's also like the human side in all of this. And it's always when we get older, we realize the things that we learned from our experiences. So it's a good thing.
Yeah, and I think I picked up on that like early on. I watched my dad like become successful.
Yeah.
He wasn't successful from when I was born, So
Yeah.
I watched him put in the work. I watched him wake up every day at 5 a.m. and go to the gym and be the CEO of a business and be a real operator and not just like a guy sitting on the board, like deploying his
Exactly.
capital in different places. So I really saw what it took to be successful as an entrepreneur and as an operator. And so I always knew in the back of my mind, like, what it takes to be successful. I didn't always have that drive because I was in a situation where sometimes things came easy to me, or because I knew that I had something to fall back on. But I think there was something that like kind of switched in me when I was 19 or 20, where I realized, okay, if I want to be successful for myself and not just kind of piggyback off my father, I need to replicate what, he's
so
doing.
true. Yeah, we learn by looking at them and what they're doing. But also it's a generational thing. Like older people, they operate differently. They're more hardworking. The younger generation wants faster, wants like, TikTok style. Let me learn this in 15 seconds instead of learning it in 2 years kind of way. So it's also a mentality, depends on the different generations.
For sure. It's actually a very interesting dynamic. And, my dad was speaking about that recently. And because we have a lot more access to, and we realize like, especially now with AI or with social media and YouTube, you can learn everything very quickly. There's a lot more resources for us to be successful. And so on one end, while I'm like, want to shoot for the stars on certain things and take like, more risk and whatnot, like because my dad had to do it differently than I had to do it, while I'm trying to like run in certain directions, he's like pulling me back a little bit and making sure that I, set up the structure to, to not go too fast.
I think it's a good balance. And I see it from the stories you're telling, that there's something that's telling you, no, do it in a slower way to make sure that your steps are being more intentional and you're doing it right. Especially that you have a machine that may be defective and all of those things that we just talked about. So I can see the influence also of this dynamic. When was it during these years that you said, oh my God, I think the product is really viable, and you started seeing traction?
To be honest, I saw the potential of it like the second I spoke to, the co-founders who had the idea for it. For me, it was like such an obvious segment in the beverage industry and such an obvious like space that was untapped. We look at the beverage industry and you have that alternative to single use for carbonated water, which is SodaStream.
Yes.
You have it for coffee, which is Nespresso and Keurig. And all of those companies are billion-dollar companies.
True.
And then for the biggest segment of the beverage industry, which is everything non-carbonated, so, flavored water, iced teas, juices, stuff like that, there wasn't that alternative to single use. And so to me, right away, just thinking about it, it was like such an obvious, part of the market that was untapped. And then the more we, started talking to people and telling them the idea and putting it out there on the market, I think it was validated just through other people.
Yeah, so true. I was talking to my friends and they're like, tomorrow I have a podcast recording. I'm just like saying what I have today. And they're like, oh, who's your guest? I said, it's this machine, it's called Bello. And they're like, we don't know it. And I started promoting it already. And I'm like, you don't know them? They were on the Dragons then and all of these things. So I hope this episode will reach more people and, especially here in the Quebec market. Do you have any plans to grow outside of Quebec, like to the rest of the country?
Oh, yeah, for sure. I mean, right now, kind of going back to what we were saying about scaling like smartly and efficiently, as much as I want to penetrate the US market where I think it can be extremely impactful, first we found that concentrating our marketing efforts in like regions at a time has been more efficient. Exactly, like you just said, when you have your friends have it and then you saw it on a local podcast and you saw it in a local retail store, and also our ads have been concentrated to Quebec, the word will spread around more quickly than kind of sprinkling your marketing budget across like a vast region. So we haven't, again, back to the fact that we didn't have the inventory, there was no real reason for us to, expand to the US market or even really much of Canada. We've sold about 90%, even a bit more, of our product just in Quebec.
Okay.
And then obviously like the tariffs
Yeah.
made it
Yes.
a little bit
Yes.
impossible to sell to the US right now. And so until we're kind of ready to, expand into that market, we'll figure something out around that. But for sure, I mean, I think this is something that would obviously work in, health and wellness is very big in the US and especially in the California, Florida market. I think it can work. We were talking earlier about the Middle East, like Dubai, the GCC. Everyone we talk to says, this would work really well in our market.
Yeah.
And I think one thing that everyone has in common is like they need to drink water. And so I think this would work
Yeah.
everywhere.
And the machine filters it. So even if it's tap, and there's like a perception that maybe in other countries that tap is not clean and stuff like that, it will still, the machine will filter and clean basically whatever is.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, that was the first step. I mean, people actually tell us all the time that just for regular filtered water, they find that, when they have like tap water with really bad taste and chlorine and
Yes.
stuff, it completely eliminates
Yes,
all
I
the
can't
taste.
drink that.
Yeah, me neither.
Yeah.
And it really takes out all the bad taste from the water. Because we use a pump to push the water through the filter,
Okay.
the pores of our filter are a lot smaller and thereby filters a lot more contaminants than like a standard Brita, for example. Brita uses a gravity system, so you just put the water in and it'll trickle down slowly.
Okay.
So the pores of the filter are a lot larger. So, just from a filtration standpoint, Bello is a really great product. And a lot of customers use it just for the filtration aspect.
Yeah, I mean, you won't drink something with flavored water, let's say,
Yeah.
every minute during your day, but you would definitely use the filter, like the clean version of it. If you're building a product-based brand, you don't have to do it alone. The Scale Partner community is a free space where founders connect, exchange ideas, and support each other. Inside, you'll find workshops, honest conversations about growth, and people who truly get the journey. Join us for free at community.rectified.co/scale partner. We're now in December, and I'm sure you planned for 2026. What goals or plans do you have in mind? Should we tell the audience that there will be a lot of inventory available?
Yeah. So, well, one, we just received another batch of inventory. So we're back selling, we're back selling again. We also just came back from a successful trip to China where we manufacture our product. We work with a really good partner in China who manufacture also for Panasonic and Philips. And we just placed an order for, another 10,000 machines. So we're going to have a lot of runway for 2026. So we're excited about that because, that will give us really strong year-over-year growth and really start to, give us the leverage to raise money and invest in R&D. Something that we haven't spoken about is also the machine is connected. So there's an app. So every time you make a drink with the Bello machine, kind of like your Apple Watch and your steps, if you set your goal for 3 liters a day, every time you make a drink, it'll close part of the ring. It'll remind you to drink more water.
It's connected to Apple Watches or just like an app on the phone?
No, the machine is connected to the app.
To the app.
But that's something that we're able to do too, is connected to your Apple Watch. So for example, if you worked out this morning, let's say you worked out for an hour, it'll increase your hydration goal, let's say by 1 liter. To say, you know what, you just worked out, you should add a liter to your goal today, and you should use our electrolyte capsules. So these are the types of...
that.
Yeah. So that we're excited about, obviously, like the inventory, and we're going to be focusing a lot more on like R&D and developing our products. One thing too that we're really excited about is we started working on reformulating our capsules.
Okay.
Something that we realized through marketing and testing different messaging and stuff and talking to customers is that they all love the flavors, but right now the capsules have been a lot more flavor focused, and we want to make them more outcome focused. And what I mean by that is instead of selling a lemon ginger capsule, we want to sell a detox capsule.
Yeah.
Instead of selling a mocktail, we want to sell a sleeping aid capsules.
It is much better. Like now I'm like, oh, I need to try this.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so what we realize is that people will drink the capsules or because, you know what, I feel like having flavor. But if we really make it an outcome-based capsule
Yeah.
where it's like drink this every day and you'll sleep better, or drink this every day and you'll have better gut health, not only do we really think that we're going to sell a lot more machines that way, but recurrence is really important for us.
Exactly.
And so if we can, the challenge has been to how can we penetrate people's routines? How can we make it so that you wake up and you drink Bello every morning as if you take your supplements in the morning?
Yeah.
And unless there's a real value to your health in other than just hydration, people want to feel like, when I'm drinking this, I'm going to have better skin, and so we're making a collagen capsule, or like I said. And so we really want to go in the direction of almost being like a symbiotica, but for the hydration space. Where
I'm actually having so many ideas at this moment.
I would love to discuss them with you, because, we're always taking feedback from people. But, literally, like the way Symbiotica does on their websites, like you shop not by flavor, you shop by what's the desired health outcome.
Exactly.
Longevity, sleeping,
they sell you like
detox.
five supplements, and you end up with a $500 recurring bill every month.
So that's something that, interesting that we can do with the app too, is like you download the app, there's a survey on like what are your desired health outcomes that you want, like do I want better skin, do I want to sleep better, etc. Then we can recommend you a capsule stack. We can say, okay, start your morning with this detox capsule, then have this green tea energy after, then have this collagen one. And then you push it to them on subscription.
And the night one is more like something with magnesium and all of these things. Yeah.
And then you literally create them a hydration routine. You sell it to them on subscription, and there you have a strong recurrent model.
I'm a buyer.
There we go.
This is so interesting, and I just got so many ideas for different types of capsules that you can
Please,
have.
I would love to hear.
But it's interesting because it's tapping on but there's a lot of movement towards living a healthier life, and people are realizing, microplastics, this and that, all of the, I'm not going to repeat them. We're not experts in the field, but we see them everywhere on different podcasts, and there's a lot of awareness. And like you said, with Symbiotica or other brands, Ritual, etc., like all the vitamins and supplements and electrolytes, I think it's a nice space to operate in, not just to filter your water, but also to have, the different functionalities of that. So you're benefiting yourself, not just drinking water, but also having a cocktail of good stuff.
And the personalization aspect, I think like more and more is people want things that are catered to them and their lifestyle and their goals. And I always say that people have like strong desires, but they don't have strong ambitions.
Yeah.
In the sense that they're not going to take the time to, build the routine for themselves. True. So if we can build it for them and we can help them, in something that is such a simple fix. I mean, there's so many health benefits to drinking enough water every day. Is like, a lot of the time that we have a headache during the day, or we feel tired, or we're not focused, like we go and make ourselves a coffee because we think that that's what we need. But in fact, we're just dehydrated. Like 70% of people are chronically dehydrated. And just by drinking enough water, you're just going to feel better every day.
I'm guilty of that.
Yeah. So
that's why I got excited, because I always forget to drink my water, and I keep drinking coffee or any sort of like herbal, whatever, just like to have a beverage. But water is never on my list. I force myself, obviously, because I know I should, but I'm guilty. I'm one of those people. We're going to do like a series of like quick questions.
Sure.
What's one product you wish you had invented?
I was going to say like, okay, speaking on that, and I think to talk like, and coming back from China is like the way they have their WeChat, where like everything is connected, from like their Uber to their like Amazon to, just this one like big consolidated kind of like, online, I guess, like space where everything is done. I think that could be super, that could be super interesting. I think also one thing that, okay, and this is just completely different, but one thing that annoys me a lot is paper mail. Like the fact that I change addresses and I need to change my like accounting, my like license, my all everything. And then I'm getting mail all over the place. Like I want an zip code where I can just easily have change my address on this one platform,
Yeah.
and then all of my communications happen through this one platform, and I don't need to get my parking tickets in the mail and my this and that. So that's something that
That's your next venture.
yeah, it's
You need to
I
invent
got to stay
this.
focused, but that's something that hopefully someone is working on that.
What's one trade every founder or business owner needs to succeed in, let's say 2026, because 2025 is almost over?
I would say, well, for sure, the number one thing for founders is like you need to be disciplined and you need to be willing to do the things that you don't want to do. Like a lot of what being a founder is, there's a lot of tasks that you don't want to do, and if you push them off, like you're not going to be successful. So that's more of a personality thing, and it's something that I need to work on. Also, just like productivity and focus is something that's really important. Now, in terms of like being in 2026, I think it's learning how to being ahead of the game and learning how to use the tools that are available for us. Like, and I think it's something that I'm putting a lot more focus on is, you know, trying to find the AI tools that can make me more efficient, make my marketing more efficient, and stuff like that. And so, you know, I would recommend like, instead of watching Netflix at night or whatever, like try to learn the tools, play around with them and use them for your advantage, because if you're not, then someone else is going to, and you're going to be kind of like behind the ball on that.
100%. What's a marketing trend you think is overrated?
I think like any of the funny TikToks that like are just, you know, I think those can be strong, but I think that if you're putting too much energy, especially as a startup where you need to focus on like, you know, marketing efforts that have more of a direct ROI.
Exactly.
I'm not going against like, you know, building a strong organic strategy. And I think TikTok is really amazing in a lot of different ways. But I think a lot of like the just joke interview, funny office ones, like a lot of people are trying them and they very rarely succeed.
Yeah. Or the drama.
Yeah, those types of things.
Yeah.
You know, I think for us, what has worked more on the TikTok and more of like the showcasing is showing kind of like how I built this, like how, you know, I think people are more interested in that. So
it depends on what your brand is about. So if you're more of a luxury brand, you have a different approach. You cannot do funny skits. If you're more something like, I'm trying to think about Midday Squares, they went the route of telling their story in a very dramatic way, and every day there's like something bad happening and they're fixing it. There's others that Duolingo and people like that, they have like their funny mascot. So it depends also on what your brand is about, the personality. In your situation, I don't see it as a funny brand, you know, so you cannot take that route also.
And I think those things work when you have the fundamentals down. Like I think Midday Squares, they do it like they do it really well. And I think, I think the challenge is that people might look at them and be like, that's why they're successful. But in reality, they had a really good relationship building with retail, and they had a really good retail strategy. And this was kind of a complement to that. And so until you have the fundamentals down, I would like avoid focusing on those things and seeing that as like, because Midday Squares I don't think that they were successful because of these types of videos. I think that they put in a lot of work before in like retail, and then that just was a boost.
It's a combination, but also it helps promote, sort of spread the word about it, because people are following them to see, oh, what happened today? Who has an issue? How much chocolate did they waste? Or whatever it is, all the stories that they tell. But they also have they're also like a media company, because they have the production team all the time, and they're like creating all those elaborate things that cost a lot of money and energy and time and all of those things. So it's something, I'm pretty sure they didn't start, I wasn't following them when they got started, but like you said, I'm pretty sure they secured a lot of things before going to that.
And I don't like, it's hard to say like what's overrated, because I think in marketing is like you have to find what works for your brand. And like whether it's, you know, I know a lot of these like CPG brands who have $0 cost of acquisition just because they had extremely good like TikTok and organic strategies. But for myself, like that's not something that I would put more effort on. So, you know, I think you need to kind of find what works for you.
Exactly.
And it all starts with like the customers. Like, who's your customer? where do they shop, what do they read, like where do they live basically.
Exactly.
And then you need to find like how you can meet them there. Like for us right now especially, you know, we have a bit of an older, not older, but like, you know, anywhere from like 45 to 55-year-old moms, and you know, they're more, to be honest, they're more on Facebook than they are
True.
on like
True.
TikTok or
Yeah.
whatnot. So
Yeah.
so yeah.
Also, you cannot risk, well, if you put a lot of effort on this type of content and you get a lot of demand, also you're unable to fulfill it. That's why you're taking it like one step at a time, like everything we
Yeah.
talked about
Exactly.
during the episode. All right, one final question.
Okay.
What is one book or one podcast that was like, oh my God, I need to tell people to read this or to listen to this episode?
I really love biographies. So I've read a lot of like the Walter Isaacson one, so the Elon Musk one and Steve Jobs ones
Yeah.
both inspired me a lot. Also like Shoe Dog, which was on
Shoe Dog,
Phil Knight, the Nike
Yeah.
founder, inspired me a lot. I think that some of the books early on, like when I was just getting started, that helped me kind of like get started, like Start With Why was one that helped me a lot.
Yeah.
I think Build Tony Fadell, he was behind the iPod at
Okay.
Apple.
I don't know this one. I haven't read
That
it.
one
Yeah.
was really good for, you know, like especially as founders in the hardware space and stuff like that. And then podcasts, I listen to Diary of a CEO a lot. Like you know, I think from podcasts, I also listen to How I Built This, like Guy Raz a lot. You know, just if I want something more specific on like what I'm doing, I listen to those. But for just like, I think there's two things when I'm reading and when I'm listening to podcasts, like there's two different reasons why I'm doing it. For one is to build myself up, and then the other is to build the business up. And so I kind of go between both. And what, you know, we were discussing earlier that like, you know, as an early stage founder, your job is changing every day. You know, you go from product development to sales to fundraising to recruitment to just like, you know, finance, stuff like that. And so I'm constantly having to like learn about something and do these like sprints on, okay, I need to learn digital marketing. Now I need to learn how to do a good retail strategy. Now I need to learn the fundamentals of like recruitment or setting up systems and operating. So I'll often choose like books and podcasts around what I'm currently needing to learn. And so, now I'm learning. I just started reading one. I actually don't forget what it's called, but it's James Richardson. It's about like scaling CPG brands, and it talks a lot really about like the product and focusing on product. But I just started that, so
Perfect. Thank you so much for being a guest on the podcast, and to all the listeners, we'll be back next week with a new episode.